We're going to get started with the first major winter storm of 2025. The deadly system has killed at least 4 people, shut down roadways, and left thousands without power. Whiteout conditions paralyzed travel, with lake-effect snow forcing an hours-long ground stop at Chicago's O'Hare Airport on Monday. And just outside of the nation's capital, Reagan National Airport shut down its runways to keep them from freezing as airports across the nation absorbed more than 4,000 cancellations in just 2 days. And this morning, the roads remain at risk, with authorities in Missouri urging drivers to stay home as they were forced to shut down roadways endangered by snow, ice, and low visibility. We have meteorologist Michelle Grossman standing by with a look at the full forecast, but we are going to begin with NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach. He's in Washington, D.C., where some areas saw close to a foot of snow, as you can see right behind him there. Gary, good morning. This is a part of the country that, while used to cold, not used to this type of snow. How are things looking today?
Hey there. Good morning, Savannah. That's right. Yeah, Washingtonians haven't seen this kind of snow in almost a decade. The federal government is closed for a second day today. Most schools in the area are closed for a second day today. And the roads are actually looking pretty good. People have heeded the advice of officials to stay off the roads, let the folks in the snowplows do their jobs. And they have good reason to get this done quickly and get the roads in D.C. clear quickly. Jimmy Carter's body will be arriving today to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. He'll be arriving at the funeral on Thursday, so they need to get these roads clear for the hundreds and hundreds of officials that are coming from around the country and really around the world for this big national special security event in D.C. So that's the roads. The airports, though, are a very different story. As you mentioned, DCA shut down last night for several hours so that folks could clear the runways and clear it both of snow and of the potential ice that could develop overnight. But looking this morning, they already have more than 20% of their flights scheduled for today canceled. So we'll see how that progresses throughout the day, Savannah.
This was a massive storm with winter weather alerts covering at 1.62 million people from Illinois all the way to New Jersey. Well, now a second winter storm is headed your way. Talk about the larger impact. How are officials preparing for this coming system while it still looks like that right behind you?
Yeah, there's a little too early for specifics on exactly how much snowfall may come out of this second system, expected from perhaps from Texas all the way to the mid-Atlantic, perhaps on Saturday, it seems like. But the problem here is that this week is going to be very cold in the mid-Atlantic. It's not going to melt at all around here. It's going to be under freezing from today through Saturday night. So we can expect the snow here to stick around and the ice to be a problem on the roads as well.
Gary, I do want to switch gears here, ask you about something not near you, but I know you're covering it all for us this morning. Out west, the National Weather Service says a life-threatening windstorm in Southern California is creating an extreme fire danger. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've got fire on one side of the country, snow on the other side of the country. Out west, the Santa Ana winds are expected to really pick up today and through the rest of the week. That's that offshore wind that comes into the Los Angeles area. And officials from the National Weather Service are calling this life-threatening. They're saying to stay indoors, stay away from windows, because it's been incredibly dry, as I'm sure you know, Savannah, from being out there. It's incredibly dry out there during what is supposed to be their rainy season. And so they're worried that the winds could pick up and brush fires could really expand in places that are very much not used to these types of winds. Savannah?
All right, Gary Grumbach, please go get warm. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Well, while parts of the country are still digging out, like where Gary is, the crazy winter weather, like we mentioned, it's not over yet. Most of the country is in for some bitterly cold temperatures today. Let's get a check of your morning news now weather with meteorologist Michelle Grossman. Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, great to see you. Yeah, we are looking bitterly cold this morning for most of the country. Temperatures 10, 15, even 25 degrees below what is typical for this time of year. We're seeing single digits across the northern plains, so 31 million people impacted this morning by cold advisories across the south. But the cold is not just in the south. We're seeing it for really most of the country. So that cold advisory from Albuquerque to Corpus Christi, New Orleans, Jacksonville, also Tampa. That includes Richmond as well. This is why we're looking at temperatures so cold this morning, 0 degrees in Bismarck right now. It feels like 14 to below zero because the winds are gusting. As Gary alluded to, they're gusting in the west, they're gusting in the east, and they're gusting in the middle of the country as well. So we're looking at wind chills in the teens in many spots. 28 degrees right now in Atlanta. It's 22 in New York City. So as we go throughout the day, we're not going to see that temperature climb that high. We're looking at the teens across the northern tier of the nation, 19 in Minneapolis. That is 6 degrees below normal. But look at the south. We're looking at temperatures in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 50 degrees in Houston today, 13 degrees below normal, and just 57 in Tampa. It's going to be below freezing in New York City as well. Bundle up because those winds are going to be blowing. It's going to feel a lot colder than that. The cold blast sticks around on Wednesday. We're looking at temperatures very similar to today. Kansas City, just 17 tomorrow. So everything that is frozen will remain frozen. It's going to be really tough go there tomorrow as well. 20 degrees below normal there. 26 in Boston tomorrow, 36 in Norfolk, and we're looking at 57 in Gainesville. It is a cold, cold week, and that lasts through the later part of the week. Look at New York City, right at the freezing mark on Thursday. Not much better Friday and Saturday. Saturday, we're looking at the chance for some snow, and Raleigh looking at temperatures in the 30s and 40s as we go through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Same story in Nashville. So that is the cold story. We're looking at cold and windy conditions across the lakes, the Great Lakes as well. That's going to create some lake effect snow. And Gary talked about this, a huge risk in portions of Southern California. As he mentioned, the National Weather Service said life-threatening, destructive. You want to stay away from any windows. There's going to be traffic problems. There's going to be problems in the air as well. So a really serious situation that will develop later on today, especially this afternoon into the evening hours and early tomorrow morning. So we do have winter alerts. Let's switch to that. We're looking at 36 million people across the country under winter alerts. The blue, Little Rock and Dallas, that is a winter storm watch. That doesn't go in effect until Thursday, and that's our next storm that we're going to be watching kind of moving across the country. Otherwise, we're looking at some snow across the Great Lakes. We have that really bitterly cold air moving over those lakes that are not frozen over yet. So those relatively warm lakes, we are expecting up to a foot of snow in some spots downwind of the lakes. Where you see those pinks and purples, that's where we're looking at the highest amounts. Let's talk about Southern California because, again, we are looking at a developing situation that we're going to watch very, very closely. 32 million people out west looking at wind alerts. We're going to see winds gusting up to 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. But in the highest mountains, we could see winds gusting up to 100 miles per hour. It is possible that that 100 mile per hour wind could make it down to the surface, just the way the atmosphere is set up today there. So we're going to be watching that very closely. Again, Savannah, winds gusting very, very high. That's going to increase the fire danger to critical levels. We'll talk more about this, too, next hour. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much. Well, President-elect Donald Trump is scheduled for a sentencing hearing this Friday in his hush money case. Now, that's just 10 days before his second inauguration. Mr. Trump appealed to the New York State Appellate Court yesterday after Judge Juan Merchan denied his most recent request to delay the hearing until after his inauguration. Meanwhile, Congress formally certified the election results yesterday, cementing Mr. Trump's victory over Vice President Kamala Harris. For more, we are joined by NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. We also have NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos here on set with us. Good morning to both of you. Vaughn, I will get started with you. So the DA's filing yesterday, it stated that Mr. Trump had decided to virtually appear in Friday's hearing, despite trying to appeal the judge's decision and get that hearing moved to January 27th. When can we expect an answer from the court on his appeal?
I mean, this is where, for Trump's legal team, they're pulling out all the stops that they can to try to delay the sentencing. And they have requested in a filing that was released yesterday to have a stay implemented on the sentencing to push it back beyond Inauguration Day, arguing that they should have the opportunity to appeal to the appellate division before and have that heard and ultimately decided by the appeals court before Donald Trump were to be sentenced. And Judge Merchan yesterday afternoon rejected that appeal. And so now they have his legal team is now formally appealing the verdict that was decided on by the jury unanimously back in May by that jury. And now it's a question of whether that January 27th hearing will ultimately be taken up by the appeals division.
Danny, if the hearing stays scheduled for Friday as planned, what can we expect? And I guess, do you think it will stay as planned?
It may. I mean, we're in really uncharted territory here because there's really never been another defendant who had the issue of presidential immunity, not only sitting president immunity, but official acts immunity, things he did in the past, as an issue to raise on appeal. And the Supreme Court did suggest that when it comes to issues of immunity, that they should be resolved pre-trial. We're in a weird situation here because the trial happened, then the immunity decision came down, and now they're arguing essentially this should go back to, we should consider this still pre-trial, essentially, and deal with immunity all the way up the appellate courts. That's why the sentencing should be stayed. I don't expect Merchan is going to be that receptive to the argument, but they have an argument, and there is some support for the idea that immunity needs to be resolved before the trial case is over.
Vaughn, I do want to ask you about one other thing. NBC News has learned that Mr. Trump is working to block the release of special counsel Jack Smith's final report. It addressed the election interference case. It also addressed the Florida classified documents case. Viewers probably remember both of those cases have been dismissed, but what do we need to know here about this report?
Right. This is special counsel Jack Smith's office. And folks may recall when Robert Mueller investigated the Russian collusion back during Trump's first administration. And then there was also the Durham report, which went into an investigation that was prompted by Donald Trump's DOJ to look at the roots of that very investigation. Both of those men, Durham and Mueller, released their own reports upon winding down their special counsel's office. And yeah, it didn't amount to specific charges. That's not what this report was, but it wrapped up and laid out what they found based off of their investigation and ultimately sought to have it publicly released. And that is what Jack Smith is now seeking to do here before Inauguration Day. But Trump's attorneys, as well as the attorneys of co-defendants down in the Florida classified documents case, are seeking to block it. The lawyers for the co-defendants down in Florida are arguing that the case was already thrown out against Donald Trump. And so therefore, effectively, a report should not be released. And instead, it should be up to Donald Trump's Department of Justice to determine whether that report is ultimately released. That letter went to Merrick Garland, the current Attorney General.
Danny, expand on that a little bit. Explain the Trump team's argument to us and then tell us, what do you think? Is this report released or blocked?
Yeah, this is so fascinating because the argument is an interesting one. It's that because Jack Smith's special counsel status was deemed by this same court to be unconstitutional, therefore his submitting of this final report is also inappropriate because he's just some private citizen. And after all, and I'm just giving the Trump argument, the DOJ withdrew its appeal at the appellate court of that decision by Judge Cannon. In other words, they're not even contesting Cannon's decision that Jack Smith was unlawfully or unconstitutionally appointed. So therefore, the argument goes, how can they release a special report if he's not special counsel? He's just a private citizen. And the regulations require that it be submitted to DOJ, but then Merrick Garland does have some discretion in whether or not to release the report. So they may not have an argument directly on legal point. After all, how could you? Who could have anticipated a situation like this? But in spirit, the Trump team does have a point here.
Where do you think this goes then? Released or blocked?
I think eventually one way or another it gets released. And I think that goes to the amount of discretion that Merrick Garland has. Judge Cannon would have to conclude that, hey, because I deemed you no longer special counsel, you don't have the authority to even submit this report. It could go either way.
Danny Ceballos and Vaughn Hilliard, thank you both very much, covering a lot there for us. Well, the White House announced on Monday that President Biden is using his authority to ban offshore oil and gas drilling along long stretches of the U.S. coastline. The decision will protect 625 million acres of ocean along America's coasts, including in the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, areas that, of course, have been of interest to oil companies. Well, the ban adds to Biden's climate legacy, but with less than 2 weeks left in office, what happens to it in the face of President-elect Trump's promises to expand drilling? NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us from the White House with more on this. Gabe, great to see you. So how does Biden first have the power to do this and then walk us through what it does mean for the environment, the economy, the implications?
Sure, Savannah. Good morning. Look, President Biden has the authority to do this, the White House says, because of a 70-year-old Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, basically allowing the President of the United States to ban offshore drilling. And as you said, it would affect about 625 million acres of land, offshore land, in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, as well as the eastern Gulf of Mexico and also the Bering Sea off the coast of Alaska. However, Savannah, this ban is being seen as largely symbolic. Why? Because a lot of this land that President Biden banned drilling in yesterday, it's actually not as much of interest to oil companies as the western Gulf of Mexico. That's where the large percentage of offshore drilling actually happens. So this is being viewed as largely symbolic. Still, the president releasing a statement yesterday saying that this is something that, he wants to do, that this is we don't need to choose between protecting the environment and growing our economy, that those are false choices. And he's trying to cement his climate change legacy at this point, Savannah.
Gabe, President-elect Trump has said he plans to increase oil and gas production in an effort to boost the economy and also to cut fuel prices. Have we heard from him on this news?
Oh, yes, we have. And as you can imagine, he does not did not like the news. He is promising to, quote, unban the ban. And the president-elect says that things will change when he's in office. Still, he might face some legal hurdles for that. The White House believes that this ban will stand up to legal challenges, because back during the first Trump administration, the president then tried to reverse some of the bans that President Obama had put in place. And actually, the administration found out that it could not do so, that it was struck down by the courts. We'll see how this plays out this time. But in order to reverse this, it may be Congress that needs to step in. Now, granted, Republicans control Congress, but still a lot of questions about whether legally Republicans will be able to reverse this, Savannah.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, we appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much. Well, President Biden and the First Lady were in New Orleans Monday meeting with the families of the 14 victims of that deadly New Year's Eve attack. This comes amid more concerns about safety in the French Quarter as law enforcement officials reveal new details about the attacker. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the latest.
President Biden and the First Lady in New Orleans visiting the growing memorial on Bourbon Street as his administration promises more federal resources to protect the city. The White House saying next month's Mardi Gras celebrations will now have support comparable to the Super Bowl.
I've directed my team to make every resource available to federal, state, and local law enforcement to complete this investigation quickly and do whatever else we can.
The announcement comes as NBC News has learned from the company that makes the new bollard barriers being installed on Bourbon Street ahead of the Super Bowl that they're only guaranteed to stop cars going a maximum of 10 miles per hour. Some experts say that's not nearly enough.
They, hit the gas instead of the brake and they roll into the bollard. That's what that's designed for. It's not designed to stop a ramming attack like we saw on New Year's Eve.
New Orleans' mayor now says she wants a tactical expert to review the city's safety plans.
The city of New Orleans will always remain focused on improving public safety measures. No doubt about that.
Meanwhile, federal investigators revealing Shamsuddin Jabbar visited New Orleans at least twice in the months before his deadly rampage. The FBI releasing this blurred video from October, which they say Jabbar recorded with smart glasses while riding a bike through the French Quarter. Jabbar also seen looking at himself in the mirror to test the glasses authorities say he was also wearing during the attack. Investigators also releasing this new video of his movements. At 1:53 a.m., he plants the first cooler containing an explosive device. At 2:20 a.m., Jabbar planted the second bomb. 55 minutes later, they say he rammed the truck down Bourbon Street. The explosives never detonated. Still, 14 people were killed. Their families, the community, and the president gathering to honor the lives lost.
Our thanks to Jesse Kirsch for that report. Louisiana's Attorney General says she's ordered a review of security plans for New Year's Eve in order to prepare for the city's upcoming Mardi Gras season.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.